sit back, relax, and have a wonderful night at the ballpark.
Extra innings. We want 9 innings in a Mariner victory. What a game last night, Angie. 4 home runs, 15 strikeouts. Mariners never get anybody in scoring position. They can't hold the lead and then lose an extra innings. It was a heartbreaking loss for a team that's putting up some big pop numbers right now.
Well, they are, and I think if you look at the Mariners, 3 extra inning games in a row, and as you mentioned, Dave, hitting the ball out of the ballpark. The unusual part of it, not hanging on to those early leads, and so hopefully they can do that tonight. The good news, a number of the guys starting to heat up. We've talked about Nelson Cruz, but Kyle Seager starting to come around, which is good to see. Dustin Ackley has been swinging the bat well. You mix in a few more guys, and then I think everybody will settle into where this lineup is going to be.
Let's borrow the football term because it's apropos. A guy can kick field goals like Nelson Cruz. My goodness, the way he's swinging the bat right now, get you on the board and get you back into a game or get you into a lead in a hurry.
Well, I've said it before, with guys like this, they hit him in bunches, and you mentioned a field goal. How about a 3-run homer 430 feet away? Comes right back the next day. Yesterday, his first at bat down the right field line. He can hit him out to all parts of the ballpark, and this is just a screaming line drive into right center. So 4 home runs in the last 3 games for Nelson Cruz.
Take a look at our Lexus starting pitchers, and we've got Hisashi Iwakuma, who has pitched well in National League ballpark since coming over here. David Huff, who's developed a cutter since we last saw him, according to Don Mattingly. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table today.
Huff just called up today, but the story for me is going to be Iwakuma in this one today. Started off a little bit rough in his first outing. First couple innings, ball was elevated in the middle of the plate. Last 3 innings that he pitched really well, so hopefully he can come out of the bullpen tonight with all of his stuff intact. And if you see him pitching down at the bottom of the strike zone early, that's a good sign for the Mariners.
He definitely had to feel good about the way he finished up in his last outing.
More right after this.
Interleague play early in the year between the Seattle Mariners and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo for the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight. It's the left-hander David Huff, who had his contract purchased earlier today by the Los Angeles Dodgers, coming up from AAA Oklahoma City. Don Mattingly saying that they like the left-hander against this Seattle Mariners lineup. Now, the corresponding move on the roster, Darwin Barney, the utility infielder, was optioned back to AAA Oklahoma City. You'll also notice in the lineup, Yasiel Puig is not in the lineup. He has a very mild hamstring issue. Don Mattingly and the medical staff for the Los Angeles Dodgers saying it is nothing serious. They are just being cautious with Yasiel Puig. Andre Ethier getting the start in right field. So, John, pretty much everyone is available. They would try to like to stay away from Yasiel Puig if they can. Justin Turner is also available, still dealing with that left index finger, but he's good to go if need be.
And a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the 3-game series. Normally, the exchange of lineup cards, kind of a ho-hum moment, but not tonight. Rare indeed. The Dodger lineup card brought up by Scott Van Slyke, and the Seattle lineup card brought by his dad and former wonderful player, Andy Van Slyke. If Scotty had Andy's sense of humor, he'd be something. Lloyd McClendon right now, not much of a sense of humor, blowing a 4-0 lead last night and losing in 10 innings to the Dodgers 6-5. So here's Lloyd's lineup. Ricky Weeks in left field, Austin Jackson in center, Robinson Cano at second, Nelson Cruz cleanup in right. Kyle Seager at third, Mike Zunino the catcher, Brad Miller at short, Willie Bloomquist at first base, and Hisashi Iwakuma on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, David Huff. Born in San Diego, lives in Huntington Beach. David is 6'2", 215-pounder. Pitched for the Indians, the Yankees, and the Giants. So he's been in a lot of big league games, 46 to be exact. And we'll see how David goes tonight. brought up from Oklahoma City because of the fact that Hyun-Jin Ryu is still out with the sore shoulder. Dodgers immediately load up the left side of the infield as the right-hand batter Ricky Weeks checks in. Ricky has had a great career. First came up to the Brewers in 2003 and takes a strike. He's 5'10" and a big 220. He's also will be 33 years old in September, but long a big favorite in Milwaukee. The strike one pitch on the way is hit in the air into right center and shallow, coming in a hurry, but having to play it on a bounce is Andre Ethier. So Weeks, fly ball single to shallow right, and the batter now will be Austin Jackson. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively with the leather. It's Gonzalez and Kendrick, Rollins and Uribe returning, Crawford, Peterson, Ethier playing over Puig in right, and the battery of Huff and Grandal. Puig, slight tightness of the hamstring. He was also hit on the foot last night, and they've decided precautionary, rest him for tonight. Austin Jackson, the normal center fielder, he was rested for most of last night. They played instead a good substitute in Dustin Ackley. So Jackson checking in, looking down to third to see what Rich Donnelly might play. No balls and one strike to count. Jackson, right-hand batter. Huff closed stance, back to the plate, swung on and missed. And the count, no balls and two strikes. For Austin Jackson, a veteran of the wars for sure, originally signed by the Yankees back in 2005, came up with the Tigers, had some big years with Detroit until coming to the Mariners last year. Strike two pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. 0-2. Jackson from Denton, Texas, idolized Ken Griffey Jr. In fact, as a kid growing up, he had a huge poster of Ken Griffey that hung on his bedroom wall, and he always wore number 24. He had a Griffey wood bat, a Griffey glove, wore his cleats as well, so he was in love with Ken Griffey Jr. Strike two pitch on the way. Instead, a throw to first, back on the bag, Ricky Weeks. Ricky Weeks, in his prime, 1 year stole 25 bases for Milwaukee. Of course, that has diminished over the years. Until last year, he had just 3. Here's the strike two pitch. Huff delivers, swung on, little ground ball to the right side. Kendrick to shortstop Rollins for the force play, and we have one down. So Jackson rolls into the force play. And the batter now will be Robinson Cano. Robinson Cano, one of the truly solid hitters in this game today. Cano, among other things, when you look at left-handed hitting second baseman, and I'm talking major league history, Eddie Collins, 333, Charlie Gehringer, 320, and Robinson Cano, 309. Cano out of San Pedro de Macorís. That was the town that produced so many ball players, among others Pedro Guerrero, who starred here for many years. Cano originally signed by the Yankees. He'll be 33 in October. Here comes David Huff's fastball, a little high and tight. 1 ball and no strikes. So David Huff gave up a pop fly single to White to Ricky Weeks. Jackson hit into a force play, and here's Cano, 1 out. Weeks, cautious lead. Not sure of David Huff. He's never played against him in his move to first. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and Huff delivers it, swung on and fouled away. You know, there was an article, interestingly enough, about pitchers throwing to first base, and we talked a little bit about last night the fact that John Lester is a left-hander who just never throws to first base. Brought to mind a pitcher like Kurt Simmons of the Phillies years ago, who never threw to first. Huff set. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on, fouled away, and the count goes to 1-2. So one away here in the first inning. The Dodgers and the Mariners have played some great games. Not much between the two. Dodgers have won 8 games, Mariners 7. They've each scored 67 runs against the other, and this year they each have 11 home runs. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Huff again looking over at Weeks and goes over there. John Lester reluctant to throw to first, so they did some surveys. He allowed 16 steals in 21 attempts last year. Now Justin Verlander is a leader in pickoff throws, and yet they stole 13 out of 17 against him. So they're wondering how important it is. The 1-2 pitch is swung on, a mile-high fly ball to right. Back goes Ethier, track at the wall, gone. And here go the Mariners again. Last night they hit 4 home runs. Cano did not have a home run last night, but he joins the club tonight. And just like that, the Dodgers are in a hole, 2-0. For Cano, no doubt about it. And for Huff, he can always say, yeah, one of the better second basemen in baseball history took me downtown. So for Cano, his first home run of the year, 12 home runs for the young Seattle ball club. They've only played their 8th game right now. And the batter is Nelson Cruz. And of course, Cruz is really dynamite. 2 home runs last night. Has homered in 3 straight games. For a second baseman and a left-handed batter to hit a home run against a left-handed pitcher, that's kind of news. 1-0 pitch on the way, off speed for a strike. You can add 2 for Chase Utley, who has hit 2 tonight in New York, and the first against Matt Harvey. The Mets are leading in that game 6-4. Huff works away, 2 balls and 1 strike. So now Utley has 230 career home runs. Cano has 219. Here's the 2-1 pitch, and that finds the mark for a strike, and they count 2-2. One other note on the game at Citi Field. David Wright has hurt his leg. Michael Cadea his hand, and they both had to leave the game with injuries. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up to Nelson Cruz, and the right-hand hitter takes inside. Ball 3. 3-2. So the pause that refreshes for Robinson Cano. Meanwhile, Kyle Seager is on deck, and Nelson Cruz checking in at the plate. 3-2 is swung on, another mile-high fly ball. Crawford, however, on the track at the wall. It is gone. That one hit the top of the wall coming down and then kangarooed high into the stands. So the Mariners have now hit 6 home runs in 11 innings here at Dodger Stadium, as Cano homers, Cruz homers after 4 last night. So it is 3-0 in favor of the Mariners. Another look. Pitch was belt high right out over the plate. Nelson Cruz crushes it, but it came down and hit the very top of the fence in left field and then bounced up into the stands. So Cruz now has homered in 4 straight. Nelson Cruz has home runs attached to his name. A few years ago, he had 2 home runs, one of them an inside the park home run against Texas Rangers. The pitch is bunted up along third. The only man to get it is Huff. Picks it up, fires, got him at first base. Fine play by David Huff to get Kyle Seager. So that's the second out, and the batter will be Mike Zunino. Take another look. Huff really showed something to get down off the mound, pick it up left-handed. His back was to the Dodger dugout and throws Seager out by an eyelash. So 2 down, 3-0 Seattle, and Mike Zunino, who appeared very impressive last night with his movements around the plate. He looks at a pitch that misses, ball 1, 1-0. Zunino last night was very unimpressive with the bat, however. He flied out and then struck out 3 straight times. 1-0 pitch to young Mike is swung on and missed, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. So David Huff gave up a pop fly single to right to Ricky Weeks, a force play, then the home run by Cano, then the home run by Cruz. 3-0 Seattle. 1-1 pitch on the way. Huff works a fastball on the inside corner, and the count 1-2. Huff works basically from the third base side of the rubber. Infield swung around to third, and the 1-2 pitch on the way, popped in the air, foul off to the right. No chance for Grandal. It's back into the stands. Last night was one of the strangest games you will ever see. The fact that Brandon McCarthy allowed 4 home runs, struck out 10, and did not walk anybody. First time that happened in 100 years. Well, the same two are at it tonight, Cano and Cruz. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Zunino tired of waiting and backs out. Brad Miller, the left-hand hitting shortstop, is on deck. Now Huff ready in the 1-2 pitch, down and away. That runs it 2 balls and 2 strikes. Zunino, a first-round pick. They gave him a ton of money, and watching him catch, you can understand why. The 2-2 pitch is fouled away. He signed as a professional in 2012, and he was playing in the big leagues last year, and he had 22 home runs and 60 runs batted in. It was funny, when he was a little boy, his father tells the story, he first got to T-ball, and he said to the coach after they were playing catch, "Coach, when are we going to take infield?" He was about 5. The 2-2 pitch is swung on and missed. So Mike has struck out 4 straight times, counting last night. But Cano and Cruz, they did not strike out. Back-to-back home runs with a man aboard for the first one, and it's 3-0 Seattle. Last night they blew a 4-0 lead. So Don Mattingly's lineup encouraged with the memory of last evening. Jimmy Rollins leads off at short, Carl Crawford in left, and Adrian Gonzalez at first. Howie Kendrick hits clean up at second base. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Andre Ethier playing in right field for Yasiel Puig. Then you have the return of Juan Uribe at third. Jock Peterson in center, and David Huff on the mound. His name is Hisashi Iwakuma. He was born in Tokyo. He was a 21-game winner in Japan a few years ago. Won 15 games last year for the Mariners. And his first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Iwakuma is 6'3", about 190. Just turned 34 the other day on the 12th. Right-hander comes back 0-1, and there's a ground ball to the right side. Waiting there for it is Cano, and just like that, Jimmy Rollins grounds out, and we have one away. Take a look at the Mariners defensively, and they shape up with Willie Bloomquist at first. Then you have Cano, Miller, and Seager in the infield. Weeks, Jackson, and Cruz in the outfield, and Zunino handling Iwakuma. And the batter now, Carl Crawford, came in as a pinch hitter last night, 0 for 1. So Crawford checking in, and Iwakuma, both feet on the rubber. Tall right-hander, turns now and delivers in the first pitch, a little high, ball 1, 1-0. So Crawford trying to get something started. One-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken at the knees for a strike, and the count 1-1. If he is on his game means fastball, splitter, and slider, and a lot of ground balls because of the sinker. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Iwakuma changes up and misses off the plate, ball 2, 2-1 to Carl Crawford. Crawford, Gonzalez on deck, and then Kendrick. Iwakuma delivers, and it's fouled off. Hisashi Iwakuma has done exceptionally well in National League ballparks. He has pitched in St. Louis, he's pitched in Atlanta, and he has pitched in Philadelphia. And in those 3 ballparks, he has not allowed a run. And he has pitched here at Dodger Stadium. You have to go back to the World Baseball Classic. 2-2 pitch is reached for, a little flare, and it's going to drop into left field for a base hit. Well, nobody said you had to hit the ball hard. Ricky Weeks got a fly ball single, and now Crawford reaching for a pitch down and away, and just did poke that thing and drop it into left field. So a base hit by Crawford, and that'll bring up Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez, as you know, off to a tremendous start, hitting .556, hitting all 7 straight. 5 home runs, 7 runs batted in. Second baseman Cano is on the rim. Miller up the middle. And the first pitch in for a strike. And the count 0-1. We mentioned at the opening that Iwakuma pitched here before. 2009, the World Baseball Classic. Japan against Korea. He was in 2 games, and his earned run average was 1.3. Now the strike 1 pitch inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. So a couple of sliders and a 1 ball, 1 strike count. When they refer to Iwakuma, they talk about a power sinker, and all you have to do is go up to Seattle, and you'll notice the front area of home plate is soaking wet. Well, you know what? That's the way it is now. Another flare gone out for making over-the-shoulder catch is Cano. Throws back to first, very close. Crawford just did get back. So a little pop fly, and we have 2 down. Howie Kendrick coming up. So a little pop fly. Cano, kind of a late start, angles out, then backtracks, makes the catch, made it close at first. Crawford just did get back. Interestingly enough, we were talking about Iwakuma and sinkers and the fact it's always wet around the front of home plate. Well, you would think we're in Seattle, because up here looking down at the area in front of home plate, it is very, very wet. So 2 down, Kendrick at the plate. Howie takes one in the dirt. Nice backhanded play by Zunino. As we mentioned, he was really something last night. He had a lot of home runs last year, but boy, you watch him catch, you can understand why they gave him so much money. Kendrick with a .321 batting average. First inning, 3-0 Seattle, and as you would expect, home run. There's a hit and run base hit into right field, and falling down as Crawford gets back to second barely. Carl Crawford hurt himself, went a few feet past second base, and went down in a heap. Stan Conti is up on the steps in the Dodger dugout looking out at Crawford. Apparently a little embarrassing. He was gone on the hit, looked to right field for a moment, and just as he rounded second base, he barely did get back on the tag by Cano. So Crawford falls down, a hit and run single, and you have runners at first and second, perfectly executed by Kendrick. And with 2 out, Grandal trying to pick somebody up now. 2 out, bottom of the first inning, 3-0 in favor of the Mariners. First pitch low, ball 1. That was a splitter in the dirt, and a new ball put in play. Grandal 3 for 14, left-hand hitter where he normally does his damage. Right-hander Iwakuma looks in, getting a sign. Now the right-hander ready. And the 1-0 pitch on the way to Grandal, and he has a look at a breaking ball strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Iwakuma has a very good move to first base. In fact, last year he did not allow a stolen base. The league was 0 for 8 in trying to steal bases on him. The 1-1 pitch coming up. Iwakuma ready, delivers off the plate. 2-1 the count. Iwakuma does a very good job in hanging in there. They say from the 76th pitch to the end of the game, the hitters are hitting 200 against him. So he's long and lean and very effective. Now the pitch coming up. 2 balls and 1 strike. Grandal looks, and that's going to be a strike. So we have a fistful of deuces. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out and 2 on. Crawford at second, Kendrick at first, and the Mariners out in front as they were last night. Tonight they're leading 3-0 instead of 4-0. Brad Miller, the shortstop, with the left-hand hitter up there, is on the grass and way over to his left. 2-2 pitch coming up. Grandal looks, and it is low. Ball 3. So the Dodgers get a slight offensive edge against Lloyd McClendon. They'll be going on a 3-2 pitch. Just missed at the knees. Greg Gibson, the plate umpire tonight. We can tell you more about Greg in a little while. He was behind the plate when Randy Johnson pitched the perfect game against Atlanta back in 2004. 3-2, runners go, and it's fouled away at the plate. So back to second base goes Crawford. Back to first, Kendrick. Dodgers and Mariners over the years have played 15 games. Dodgers, by winning last night, had the edge 8-7. Going into this game, each team had scored 67 runs against the other team. Iwakuma looks into Zunino as the runners take their leads. 2 down first inning, 3-0 Mariners. Iwakuma sets up around the collarbone. Runners go, and the pitch is in the dirt all the way to the backstop. Covering the plate is Iwakuma, and on ball 4, Grandal goes to first, and the bases are loaded. Had Crawford not fallen, he would have been at third base, and he would have scored on that wild pitch. Instead, the Dodgers have the bases loaded, 2 out, and Andre Ethier coming up. Remember, Ethier last night came off the bench and had a big double. So Crawford and Hendrick and Grandal all out there with 2 out. Iwakuma, who has never given up a run in a National League park, is on the edge here, going head-to-head with Ethier. Right-hander ready, checks the runners. First pitch to Ethier, swung on and missed. 0-1 the count. Andre Ethier in his career has 4 grand slams. The last one he hit at Seattle, and that was a couple of years ago. No balls and 1 strike to Andre Ethier. Iwakuma again set. He's made 20 pitches. Another ground foul outside of first down the line, and the count 0-2. So in the top of the first inning, Weeks a pop fly single to right. Jackson forced him. Cano hit a home run. Cruz came up and hit a home run, so he's homered in 4 straight games. Now in the bottom of the first, the Dodgers have loaded the bases with 2 out. and a no-ball, 2-strike count on Andre Ethier. Last year, the Dodgers hit 191 with the bases loaded. That's right, 191. Last night, with the bases loaded, Alex Guerrero got the base hit to win the game. 0-2 the count. Here comes Iwakuma, and it's very high up around the eyes. 1-2 the count. Hisashi Iwakuma, power sinker. He was originally drafted by Oakland, and they got all caught up in red tape, though he wound up with the Mariners. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Iwakuma set from a stretch. Here he comes, and it's down and away, swung on and missed, and down goes Ethier. So Ethier strikes out with the bases loaded. No runs, 2 hits. Dodgers leave 3, and at the end of an inning, it is 3-0 Seattle. Iwakuma made 23 pitches to get out of the jam in the first inning. You know, last night, the Mariners hit 4 home runs. They have 2 so far tonight. But last night was the 41st time an opposing team hit 4 home runs in a game at Dodger Stadium. In the 41 games, the opponents lost only 3, even though they hit 4 home runs. Here's the first pitch now to Brad Miller. Ground ball to the right side. On it easily is Kendrick to make the play. And 1 pitch and 1 out in the second inning. Who were the 3 teams? The Padres in 1970, the Giants in 1994, and the Mariners last night, losing despite 4 home runs. Willie Bloomquist, who is certainly no stranger to the Dodgers. Willie spent a lot of years with the Diamondbacks, but he started his long career with the Mariners out of Arizona State back in 1999. So Bloomquist checks in, right-hand hitter, and the first pitch down and away, ball 1. 1-0. Bloomquist 5'11", 190. Wearing 2 gloves, which is news with one of those players who at one time didn't wear any gloves at all. Now he has certainly joined the gang. Willie, in his major league career, has played every position except pitcher and catcher as he swings and misses. So you can understand why he's had such a long career. He came up with the Mariners in 2002. In 2009 went to the Royals, and in 2011 went to the Diamondbacks, and now he's back with the Mariners where it all began. Hard ground ball smothered by Jimmy Rollins. Throws on a bounce too late. So Bloomquist at 38 come November is able to beat the play and come up with an infield single. Nice try by Rollins to smother the ball, diving head first. The Rollins get the glove on it. Bloomquist running well enough. Close play, but Willie beats the throw. So 3 runs and 4 hits for the Mariners. Iwakuma coming up after a great effort by Jimmy Rollins. Uribe playing well in on the grass. Iwakuma shows bunt and fouls it back to the screen. And the count 0-1. At third base, Rich Donnelly. Over at first coaching, that would be Chris Woodard. Chris Woodard's from Covina, so he's close to coming home. Welcome back, Chris. No balls and 1 strike to Iwakuma. Huff will look over at Bloomquist, who has a short lead. The bunt in the air, foul, out of play. You know, earlier we were talking about not throwing the ball to first or throwing the ball and whether it prevents runners. Last year, the 10 pitchers with the most pickoff throws allowed 66% success, 122 steals. The 10 successful pickoffs. Huff ready and comes back with a throw to first. The 10 pitchers with the fewest pickoff throws gave up 69%. Well, not much to choose. So that brought up the question, do pickoff attempts really prevent stolen bases? All right, 0-2 the count. David Huff ready. Here he comes. Takes it low, does Iwakuma. And the count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Again, checking with Richard Donnelly to see if the sacrifice is still on. Bloomquist visiting with Adrian Gonzalez as he takes his lead. The bunt is on again. Iwakuma moving the bat. Tries to bunt foul, and down he goes. So Iwakuma strikes out. That would be the second strikeout for David Huff. Ricky Weeks, who hit a little fly ball single to right field. Then Jackson forced him, and then Cano hit a home run. So Ricky checking in. Struggling at the start of the year, but he's always been a very good hitter. He waggles that bat a bit. We were talking about it last night. It brought back memories, maybe not quite as much, but still, if you had seen Gary Sheffield play, you get the idea. He has extremely quick hands. Huff ready and delivers. Weeks swings right through it, and the count 0-1. They called it the Weeks waggle. He started doing it 2005. Ricky, 32 years old. Huff ready, comes back low and inside. Dodgers stack up the left side of the infield. So overshifting has now become commonplace. I mean, once upon a time, they stopped the presses when the Cleveland Indians loaded up against Ted Williams. Oh, that was a big story. Wow. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Huff ready, comes back, fastball grounded to third. Uribe goes to first base, and that'll be that. So no runs, 1 hit, and a man left. And at the end of an inning and a half, it's 3-0 Seattle. 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Juan Uribe, then Jock Peterson and David Huff. Saturday over in Arizona on a ground ball wide of third. Uribe made a good play, awkward throw to first and felt a hamstring. Didn't pull, but it was tight. They got him out of there. That gave Alex Guerrero a chance to play. And now he's okay and back in the lineup. First pitch in for a strike and they count 0-1. So for Guerrero, he has a big night. He's the hero last night and he doesn't make the starting lineup tonight, and so it goes in the big leagues. Guerrero went 1 for 5. Uribe hits one to center. Coming up a hurry is Jackson to put it away, and we have one down in the second inning. Jock Peterson will be coming up. Dodgers have won 5 straight home series, and they won the first game of this series, so they're trying to extend it. One reason they were able to come from behind last night was Jock Peterson's clutch base hit to drive in 2. That was back in the 4th inning. It helped Brandon McCarthy get off the hook as he sits right now, taking in the action very calmly. So Jock waiting. Iwakuma delivers. Check swing. They're going to look at third. Swing, says Jim Joyce. And the count, no balls and 1 strike. One thing about Peterson, he really winds up to swing. Jock back up, waiting. Iwakuma, not much flourish, just kind of rocks and delivers. Fastball, but that's low. Fastball, pretty good sink at 88 miles an hour. Iwakuma, body language, seems to be a little annoyed that he missed that pitch. 3-0 Mariners, second inning. Peterson has a look, and that's a little low and off the plate. 2-1. Iwakuma last year, and the Dodgers know all about it, had very, very good control. Here's the 2-1 pitch on the way. Peterson fouls it back, and they count 2-2. For Iwakuma, he struck out a little more than 7 hitters for every 1 that he walked. But September turned out to be a nightmare for a guy who won 15 games. But his September earned run average was almost 8. Iwakuma 15-9 last year, 14-6 the year before. And the 2-2 pitch swung on and fouled back. Took a little off, got it up there at 85. We mentioned that Iwakuma was originally to be sold by his team to Oakland. They had the right to negotiate a contract. The A's couldn't come to an agreement with Iwakuma during the allotted 30 days for negotiating. Peterson fouls another pitch back. So eventually, Iwakuma, who was a 3-time All-Star, he was an MVP award as well as a 20-game winner. He was 21-4 one year. And eventually the Mariners got him. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Iwakuma delivers, fastball fouled away. And he's keeping that thing down. And Peterson just getting a little bit of it. 2 years ago, if you put together walks, hits, and innings pitched, that percentage was the lowest in Mariners franchise history. That's right, even lower than Randy Johnson. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Peterson, tired of waiting, backs out for the moment. Two balls and 2 strikes. Now they're ready to hook up, and the pitch to Peterson is taken. Strike 3 called. So Peterson holding his right hand up over his mouth and walks away, perhaps making sure that he doesn't argue. I'm sure he thought the pitch was below the strike zone, but he's smart, puts that hand over the mouth and quietly goes back to the dugout. 2 strikeouts for Iwakuma. And here's David Huff. David, who went to school at UCLA, he also went to Cypress. It's a little ground ball wide at third. Seager is on it, and that will be that. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the second, and at the end of 2, Seattle 3 and the Dodgers nothing. Dodgers and Giants at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Clayton Kershaw themed fleece blanket. Compliments of security benefit. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Into the third inning we go. Clayton Kershaw, we will see him soon. Coming in will be the first place Colorado Rockies. Clayton sitting between Brandon McCarthy and Justin Turner. So Kershaw, 2 starts, certainly not close to his usual style. And we go to the third. It'll be Austin Jackson, then Robinson Cano, and Nelson Cruz. Austin Jackson accepted a scholarship to go to Georgia Tech, but then signed a deal with the Yankees and never made it. Jackson, right-hand batter. David Huff looks in to get a sign. Jackson is 6'1", 187, and takes ball 1. 29 years old. They all knew he was going to be a good ball player as he hits a ground ball slowly to short. Rollins on it, gets it to first for the out. When Jackson, between the age of 12 and 15, Baseball America said he was the nation's best player in that age group. So the big leaguer rolls to short, and now here comes Robinson Cano. Last night, Cano was reasonably quiet. He had a single, flied out twice, and struck out. But that one time he was aboard, Nelson Cruz followed with a home run. First pitch to him, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Take a look at Robbie's home run, and it was high enough and far enough. Ethier ran out of real estate, watched it go in the seats. So Cano's first home run of the year. The left-hand hitter takes in the dirt, and the count 1-1 strike. So that's the power group now. Cano backed up by Nelson, because Cruz, following Cano in the lineup, they have to pitch to Cano. Cano hit as many as 33 home runs a couple of years ago for the Yankees. That fell down to just 14 home runs last year because he was all by himself in the lineup. They pitch around him, and He was swinging at bad balls, but they can't do that anymore now that they have Cruz. 2-1 pitch swung on. Hopper to the right side. On it is Kendrick and flips it over. So we have 2 down in the 3rd inning, and Nelson Cruz coming up. We're going to show you a home run of Cruz, and the first question is which one? It was a mile-high fly ball. Crawford went to the wall, leaped in the air, couldn't glove it, and it kicked up into the seats. Cruz has homered now in 4 straight games, but that's only halfway. The record for consecutive games with a home run, 8. 3 players did it. Here's the first pitch, and that's in the dirt. Dale Long did it when he was with Pittsburgh. Ken Griffey Jr. did it, and a fellow by the name of Don Mattingly homered in 8 straight games as well. 3-0 Seattle, top of the 3rd. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Cruz takes off the plate. In October in the ALCS, Cruz joined Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in postseason slugging. Another one off the plate. He became one of 3 players with at least 100 plate appearances and a career .700 slugging percentage. 3 balls and no strikes. Cruz takes ball 4. So Huff has learned, why in the world do I pitch to him? With 2 out, bases empty, he just pitches around him, and he'll take his chances with Kyle Seager. Seager, remember, tried to bunt his way aboard because the Dodgers load up the right side. Uribe is way over in the hole at shortstop, so it certainly is inviting for a left-hand batter to just try and bunt the ball. He did, bunted well, and David Huff made an excellent defensive play. David Huff delivers, ground ball wide of Uribe and rolls on out into left field. So I guess you're supposed to load up on left-hand batters and right-hand batters, but the Dodgers paid the price. You remember opening day when the Dodgers had Kendrick on the other side of second base, and Matt Kemp came up with a key roller that would have been a routine play, and it went for a base hit. You can't be in 2 places at one. Certainly Kershaw, McCarthy, Turner would discuss that. So the Dodgers overload the right. The base hit goes to left. And first and second, 2 out. And the batter is Mike Zunino. Zunino has struck out 4 straight times. Up there now with 2 on, 2 out. Huff delivers and gets it in for a strike. And the count 0-1. So David had only 3 innings under his belt when he was at Oklahoma City, and he's in the 3rd inning now. He's made 48 pitches. Now the strike 1 pitch swung on and foul back. Zunino, drafted by the Athletics, but he went to the University of Florida, and he led the Gators to the College World Series 3 years in a row. He was also the winner of the Golden Spikes Award, the Johnny Bench Award, and the Dick Howser Trophy. 0-2. Huff ready. Back he comes. Foul back. 0-2 the count to Mike Zunino. Zunino, who is from Coral Gables, Florida, had 4 hits in the first game he ever played at Yankee Stadium. That was first week of May last year. He had 22 home runs, 60 RBIs last year. Huff ready. Here he comes. Ground ball wide of third. Uribe, good pick. Down to Kendrick for the force play, and that's the inning. So Huff, no runs, 1 hit. Mariners lead 2, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 3-0 Seattle. Dodgers 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the third inning. The Mariners have hit 6 home runs in 13 innings, but it's interesting. They've scored a total of 8 runs, and yet Zunino's fielder's choice was the first at bat with a man in scoring position. They've done them all by touching them all, and here we are in the bottom of the third. The amazing Jimmy Rollins, and he takes a look at a breaking ball strike, and the count 0-1. You talk about Ricky Henderson, Bobby Bonds, Barry Bonds, Joe Morgan, Craig Biggio, Paul Molitor, Roberto Alomar, Marquise Grissom, Bobby Abreu, Johnny Damon, and Jimmy Rollins. And what club is that? It is a distinguished club. Those who have hit at least 200 home runs and have stolen at least 400 bases. So a guy at 5'8" and 180 has tremendous credentials. Rollins has to really get out of the way of the pitch down and in. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jimmy. Pitch almost got him. For one moment it looked like it would be behind his leg, and then he just did pull the legs out of the way and avoid being hit. So 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jimmy Rollins. You have 2 marvelous second basemen or shortstop middle infielders in this series, and Rollins probably bangs it in the gap in left center. That'll be for extra bases. Austin Jackson gets it back in, and it's a double for Jimmy Rollins. So a nice bit of hitting. Austin Jackson had to run the ball down at the base of the wall in left center. Pitch was down and away, had good sink on it, and Rollins just went down and banged it into the gap. So the leadoff double will bring up Crawford, followed by Gonzalez. We were talking about middle infielders. Jimmy Rollins has had 217 home runs in his career, and Robinson Cano has now 219 with his home run tonight. Here's Crawford, takes away ball 1. Carl single to left. Hit and run play, base hit by Kendrick. Carl rounded second and fell down. Barely got back to second base. He's okay. 3-0 Mariners. Dodgers trying to get on the scoreboard. Iwakuma delivers off speed for a strike, and the count 1-1. Dodgers loaded the bases in the first inning with 2 out, but Andre Ethier struck out. So Ethier alone with his thoughts, sitting back. Rollins, hands on his hips, takes his lead with Miller directly behind him. 1-1 pitch on the way. Iwakuma delivers, and that's low. 2-1. That's that power sinker they talk about. 2-1. Iwakuma's fastball go anywhere from 87 to 94. He has that nasty splitter, and he also has a good slider. His 2-1 pitch on the way. Right-hander deals, and that's fouled away off to the left upstairs. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Mariners and Dodgers one more time tomorrow night. Taijuan Walker and left-hander Brett Anderson. Meanwhile, Adrian Gonzalez waiting patiently on deck. Two balls, 2 strikes to Carl Crawford. You know, Crawford's been the leading hitter in the majors since last August. That's right. 2-2 pitch, and that's low, ball 3. Crawford, since August 4th, was hitting .384. Doesn't get much publicity, but that's the cold, hard fact. So Rollins at second with a leadoff double. 3-2 the count to Carl Crawford. Iwakuma ready. Looking at Rollins now to the plate, and Crawford chases one, and down he goes, losing his helmet in the process. It might have been the splitter. He had a very awkward swing at it. Yeah, it sure was. The bottom dropped out of it. So Crawford strikes out. Rollins has to hold. Strikeout number 3 for Iwakuma. A frustrated Crawford going back to the dugout. Iwakuma now facing Adrian Gonzalez. Robinson Cano is a short right fielder. He's a good 10 feet out on the grass at least in right field. The infield swung around so that Miller, the shortstop, is directly behind Rollins. Iwakuma looks back at second. Now works the hitter, and Adrian takes on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Iwakuma, remarkable control, but he has walked a man. He walked Grandal in the first inning. Right-hander ready. It's 3-0 Seattle. Bottom of the third, 1 away. Iwakuma delivers. Fastball whacked to right. Down into the corner. Rollins will jog home. Cruz picks it up. Into second base goes Gonzalez. And the Dodgers now trail 3-1. So Adrian Gonzalez, absolutely a hitting machine, just whacked that thing into right. So the Dodgers come up with a couple of doubles and get on the board. And that'll bring up Howie Kendrick. Interesting, that's the first run that Iwakuma has allowed in a National League ballpark. He had worked 22 innings, a total in St. Louis, Atlanta, and Philadelphia without allowing a run. And he went 2 tonight. So 24 innings in National League parks. Finally gives up a run. And the first pitch to Kendrick in for a strike. So Rollins doubles with 1 out. Gonzalez picks him up. 5 doubles so far early in the year. So Rollins peps the Dodgers up with that leadoff double. Now Kendrick, who singled to right field in the first inning. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Howie takes in the dirt. Good block by Zunino, pushing the ball out in front of the plate. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Iwakuma, the father of 2 children. He married the daughter of the former coach of the Cebu Lions. Kendrick waiting, 1 ball and 1 strike. Iwakuma a look back at Gonzalez, and the pitch high and inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Kendrick with Grandal on deck. So last night the Mariners got out in front 4-0. The Dodgers eventually caught them 5-5 and won it 6-5 in 10. Tonight Mariners got out in front 3-0, and the Dodgers trying to repeat the act. The 2-1 pitch to Howie Kendrick. Iwakuma ready, right-hander delivers, and it's foul to the screen. Good fastball. 2-2. Fastball at 91. A couple of years ago, Iwakuma began the season in the bullpen. Finally transitioned to starting rotation in July, and he's thrived ever since. He started 16 games. He went 8-4. Over his last 9 starts, his earned run average was 1.8, and a star was found. Kendrick fouls this one off to the right. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. 1 out. Dodgers pick up a run here in the third. Trail Seattle 3-1. Brett Anderson and Taijuan Walker tomorrow night. Taijuan Walker with a hoodie, sitting back, arms folded, making his own thoughts, watching the Dodger hitters. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Iwakuma sets close to the collarbone, and the 2-2 pitch, fastball fouled away. That was down just 84, but perfect location. That's the thing about Iwakuma. last year, looking it up, he worked 179 innings. He walked 21. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up. Right-handed delivers low. A good block by Zunino. 3-2 the count. The way Zunino went down on his knees, I would think that was a splitter. Remember, one pitch got away on ball 4 to Grandal in the first inning. Had Crawford not fallen down, had he been at third, he might very well have scored, and it would be a 1-run game. So 3-2 the count. Kendrick waits. Here comes the pitch, swung on and fouled away. 3-2. David Huff has gotten through 3. Started off on a rocky note with a couple of home runs. Has settled down reasonably well ever since. 3-2 pitch coming up to Kendrick. Swung on and missed. Way out in front of a changeup. A great pitch. And Kendrick hitting on the motion and the arm speed. Down he goes. So Iwakuma has picked up 2 strikeouts in the inning. He has struck out 4. And the great off-speed pitch, and Kendrick got in front of it. So now the batter is Yasmani Grandal. When you make a pitch like that to a hitter like that, all you can do is tip your cap. A thoroughly professional off-speed pitch. Grandal walked in the first inning. Mariners 3, Dodgers 1, bottom of the third, 2 out. Gonzalez at second base knocked in the run, and the first pitch off the plate, ball 1, 1-0. Grandal 3 hits in this young year, one of them a home run, 1 RBI, hitting about 214. Gonzalez afraid to take too big a lead with a left-hand hitter up. Brad Miller, the shortstop, is directly behind him. 1 ball and no strikes. Grandal takes a strike, a pitch that was up and then dipped in at the last minute. 1-1 the count. The 2 batters who have given Iwakuma a battle, and neither one was productive. Jock Peterson had an 8-pitch at bat in the second inning and struck out. Kendrick had a 9-pitch at bat and struck out. 1-1 pitch on the way. Grandal takes in the dirt. 2-1 the count. Iwakuma now has made 58 pitches. He's made 24 pitches in this inning alone. Made 23 pitches in the first inning. So this is his toughest inning, and he's given up 2 doubles for a run, and he has struck out 2. Now the 2-1 pitch to Grandal. Iwakuma delivers, and it's fouled away. Good fastball. 2-2 the count. Grandal, from all reports, from the quotes of the pitchers, doing a very fine job behind the plate. A.J. Ellis and Zach Greinke very high in his praise of Grandal. And of course, Ellis is the kind of a guy who would say good for Grandal. All right, 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 out. Runner at second, and the pitch to Yasmani Grandal. Right-handed delivers, swung on and missed. The bat goes into and out of the Mariners dugout. Wow. That was an explosive at bat as Grandal lets it fly, and the Dodgers wind up with the side striking out. That was worth another look. That bat really took off, went into the dugout, and then came out like a runaway baton. And at the end of 3, it's 3-1 Seattle. 3-1 in favor of Seattle. David Huff ready to go to work against Brad Miller, the shortstop. Then Willie Bloomquist and the pitcher Iwakuma. Brad Miller, well, everybody talks about it. The first time you see him, you immediately look at his socks. He is right out of the old school where he stretches the socks so you see the stirrups and then the white sanitaries underneath. Brad takes a strike and the count 0-1. Brad Miller out of Clemson University. He's from Orlando. Drafted by the Texas Rangers, but he went to Clemson instead. Fouls a pitch away and the count 0-2. Miller grounded out. Last night he went 0 for 4. 2 years ago, Brad Miller and Tampa Bay's Ben Zobrist joined forces. They made baseball history. Tell you why in a moment. Huff waiting and Miller tired of waiting. For the second time in Major League history, both leadoff hitters homered in their first at bat and hit a second long ball in the same game. The next pitch down and away. Chuck Knobloch of Minnesota and Detroit's Tony Phillips first accomplished that feat in 1994. Big chopper speared nicely by Huff, who underhands to first in time. David is 6'2", and he was able to reach up and make a good play. So 1 away.
Number 8, Willie Bloomquist.
The veteran Willie Bloomquist coming up. The pride of Bremerton, Washington, although he now lives in Scottsdale, went to Arizona State. The baseball fortunes have been good for Willie. First came up to the Mariners in 2002, and now in 2014 he joined them again after time with the Royals, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. Right-hand batter. Strike. 0-1. David Huff, first inning, pop fly single, home run to Cano and a home run to Cruz. He has settled down since, allowing just 2 hits. The pitch inside, and it nails Bloomquist. So Willie hit by the pitch, awarded first base, and Iwakuma coming up. Willie, right-hand batter. It looked like it got him on the right arm, just under the elbow. He drops that elbow, and the ball hit him right on the right arm. Lloyd McClendon making sure that Willie is okay, and he assures his manager that he is. Iwakuma tried to bunt in the second inning and struck out. In the Dodger bullpen for 2 reasons. Juan Nicasio begins to warm up. Huff has made 57 pitches. Also, he's due to bat 4th in the 4th inning. And remember, he only pitched 3 innings in Oklahoma City. The bunt is down. Huff looks at second and fires to first. Whoa, that was a good play by Howie Kendrick. I mean, there was no reason to throw that ball that hard. And of course, Adrian Gonzalez dropped to his knees in case Huff was thinking about going to second base. So the sacrifice works. Here's the thought about second. Down goes Gonzalez, and then he fired low and hard, and Kendrick made a very good play. So the Mariners have a runner at second with 2 out. Kendrick, as if to say, boy, he really hurried that thing to me. Here's Ricky Weeks. Fly ball single to right, grounded to third. 1 for 2. Mariners lead 3-1. In for a strike. Well, they described Ricky in the past as an infielder. They thought of him more like a Willie Randolph of the Yankees, or even a young Joe Morgan. Here's the strike 1 pitch. And line drive, base hit. So here comes Bloomquist. He'll score. That makes it 4-1 in favor of Seattle. And Weeks comes up with his second hit. The other a fly ball single to right. This time a line drive single to left. Take another look. Pitch out over the plate, and Ricky loads up on it. Hits it hard for a long single. Crawford over to cut it off, and the run is in. Of course, Ricky is very experienced. You go back to 2013 in July. He played in his 1,000th game. So here now is Austin Jackson, hit into a force play, grounded to short. Strike. 0-1. Seattle 4 runs, 6 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits. Strike one pitch. That's in there nicely. Ricky Weeks at one time stole as many as 25 bases. He stole 3 last year for the Brewers. 0-2 to Austin Jackson. Boy, I tell you, Huff really throws over to first base. Woo. David, another look over at first. Fastball sliced into right field. Up with it is Andre Ethier. Holding at second is Weeks. And now look out. Robinson Cano will be coming up.
Number 22.
So the hit batter caused a lot of grief. Weeks then singles home Bloomquist. Jackson now singles to right. And that might be all. We'll see. Honeycutt going out, so he never takes a pitcher out of a game. He carries a message. It's a tough spot. The Dodgers would like to be able to get Huff through the inning and perhaps hit for him. Robinson Cano homered with Jackson aboard in the first inning, and last time up grounded out. So Cano presents a monstrous problem. We were talking about second baseman and home runs as we also look at another home run hitter in Nelson Cruz. Joe Morgan in his career hit 268. Lou Whitaker, fine second baseman in Detroit, hit 244. Chase Utley is still at it, 228. And Robinson Cano coming into the game, 218. So he and Utley now have added one tonight. Utley 229, Cano 219. So 2 on and 2 out. First pitch a strike. 0-1 to Cano. Cano's dad was a ball player, actually signed with the Yankees, reached the majors briefly with the Astros. So he's a chip off the old block. Adrian coming around the corner trying to pick off Jackson, but no chance. So Weeks at second, Jackson at first. 4-1 in favor of Seattle in the 4th inning. And that gets away, and that'll move runners up to second and third. Weeks rounding third and holding on. So with everything else, a hit batter, then 2 base hits. Now we assume it'll be a wild pitch. Let's take another look. No, off the glove. That would have to be a pass ball. So Grandal, who had a lot of troubles with pass balls last year, has one getaway. Second and third, a run in, 4-1. So Cano can really do some damage now if he gets a base hit. First base open. 2-1. Cano is not only a good ball player, We should talk a little bit about the fact that he's a fine human being. His new goal is building schools and focusing on education. He's in a position to give back. He knows that, and he wants to do it. Two and one to count. When Cano played for the Yankees, he was a constant visitor to terminally ill patients at Hackensack. That's a foul ball. Hackensack University Medical Center. They have a pediatric ward that's been named in his honor. So he is not just a good player, good man. Robinson Cano. The deuces are up there. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on at second and third. Nelson Cruz waiting on deck. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, fly ball to center. Peterson moves over and puts it away. So the Dodgers get out of the inning cheaply enough. A couple of base hits, a hit batter, a pass ball, and it settles for 1. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 4-1 Mariners. Presents Friday Night Fireworks. So come on out this Friday night. Take your place on the field. See the fireworks featuring the sounds of Coachella 2015. The division leading Colorado Rockies will be here. That means Troy Tulowitzki, Carlos Gonzalez, when they are healthy, and they are healthy now, Colorado can be a real problem. And they're off to a pretty good start. Won 5 out of 7, and they're a game in front of Arizona and the Dodgers. First pitch to Andre Ethier, a slicing fly ball, curling foul, and going out of play. Andre came up with 2 out and the bases loaded in the first inning and struck out. By the way, we were talking earlier about home runs by Robinson, Cano, and all of the others. And we mentioned Chase Utley. Utley has hit 2 home runs tonight. So he's now hit 231. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. 1-1. The Dodgers would like to get something going and bat for Huff. And even if they don't, they might very well make a pitching change anyway. Popped in the air, slanting over as Miller. 1 away.
Number 5.
Juan Nicasio is up for the second time in the Dodger bullpen. They might bring him in. David Huff has made 68 pitches, had only pitched 3 innings at Oklahoma City, so he's pushing it now. And here's Juan Uribe. Fly to center in the second inning. In talking about, as we were, the Rockies, they've jumped out in front in San Francisco. Rockies are leading the Giants 3-0 in the fourth inning. Giants are hurting. They lose tonight, their record will be 3-6, and they would be 3.5 games back of Colorado. But you know what? They weren't very impressive last year, and yet they wound up being the world champs. 1 ball and 1 strike to Juan Uribe. Two and 1. Iwakuma has allowed 1 run, 4 hits. Little ground ball to short. Brad Miller right there. 2 down here in the fourth inning, and Jock Peterson coming up. By the way, with Iwakuma now, they have given him 4 runs in his career. If he gets 3 or more runs, his record is 32-7. Peterson had an 8-pitch at bat and eventually struck out. Howie Kendrick had a 9-pitch at bat and struck out in the third inning. Check for ball 1. Alex Guerrero is out on deck, hoping to bat for David Huff. 1 ball and no strikes. Ball 2. We mentioned earlier the Rockies leading the Giants. The Rockies, in shutting out the Giants 2-0, made San Francisco the first World Series champion in over 60 years to be shut out in its home opener. And that was yesterday, and they're struggling to try and score tonight. Iwakuma now goes 3-0. He walked Crandall in the first inning. Now he's on the edge with Peterson. Three balls, no strikes in there. Three and 2. There's the hero from last night, Alex Guerrero. David Huff wearing the helmet, but he's on the edge of coming out. 3 and 2. Two out, fourth inning. Seattle 4 runs, 7 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits. Doubles by Rollins and Gonzalez produced a run. For the Marlins, for the Mariners, they had back-to-back home runs by Cano and Cruz. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And ball 4. So that would be the second walk given up by Iwakuma. And the batter now will be Guerrero, hitting for Huff. Last night, you may remember Guerrero battling a lot of breaking balls and finally went down and got a base hit into right center, and that did it. He beat Tyler Olson, drove in Ethier, and the Dodgers came all the way back. Down 4-0. They won it in 10 innings, 6-5. So Guerrero hit his first major league home run in Arizona. Meanwhile, Nicasio warming up down in the pen, and here's young Alex. And he hits a high fly ball into deep left field, heading for the stands. Gone. Alex Guerrero, the hero last night, couldn't make the starting lineup tonight and comes off the bench to hit a 2-run home run. And the Dodgers get right back in the game now. Seattle 4 and the Dodgers 3. So back-to-back, a big performance for young Alex Guerrero. His second major league home run with a man aboard to get the Dodgers in the game. Jimmy Rollins has grounded out and doubled. He is 1 for 2. All right. Take another look for the Alex Guerrero Marching and Chowder Society. High fly ball that clears the wall. Backhanded effort. Iwakuma annoyed at himself. Ground ball to the hole. Nice pick by Robinson Cano to get him. So Rollins losing a base hit. Cano makes a fine play, but no one, even the kid in the outfield, couldn't catch the ball hit by Alex Guerrero. So a 2-out walk to Peterson, and then the home run. The Dodgers get close. Mariners 4, Dodgers 3. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. Ball game tightens up a bit now. Seattle 4, Dodgers 3. Juan Nicasio will now pick up for David Huff. Dodgers were really delighted in the dugout for Alex Guerrero. Mark McGwire, Lorenzo Bundy, Davey Lopes, all having some fun with him. Guerrero, you can imagine, thrilled to his toes. Gets the Dodgers back in the game. So Nicasio will start off with Nelson Cruz, then Kyle Seager, and the catcher Mike Zunino. Cruz homered in the first inning. He's homered in 4 straight games. Last time up he walked. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Marlins. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. And ball 1. There's the good nature with Davey Lopes, Lorenzo Bundy. McGwire had already given him a lot of fun. They're very happy and proud for him. He's worked so hard in spring training. Remember when they first discovered Guerrero's contract in spring training? It said that he could not go down. And he refused to go down. He said, I will not go back to the minors. I don't have to. Cut me loose, I'll be a free agent. Well, he played well enough to make the club, and here he is. 3-0 to Nelson Cruz with Kyle Seager on deck. Cruz is 240 pounds. I mean, there's a lot of man out there in right field. Seager on deck. And 3-0, they have to be careful. And ball 4. So Cruz has sold the Dodgers. He can hit them. So after his home run tonight, they walk him twice. Kyle Seager coming up. Tried to bunt. Huff, the pitcher, made the play. And then last time up, Seager singled to left field. Dodgers can't completely load up the right side, but they have Rollins way over, so that Uribe is again no longer the third baseman. He's in the hole at short. Right, 0-1. His brother Corey Seager is tearing him up at Oklahoma City. No balls and 1 strike. Juan Nicasio from San Francisco de Macorís, and missing. 1 ball, 1 strike. A veteran at 6'3", 210. He'll be 29. Originally signed as a free agent by the Rockies. In his career, he's been absolutely wonderful in the month of April. Ball 2. In the month of April, Juan Nicasio's record, 7 victories and no losses. Then things get a bit tough. He's the boy who was hit in the head by a line drive that broke his neck. And yet he has fought his way back. Now he's in trouble, having walked Cruz. He's behind 3-1 to Seager. The catcher, Mike Zunino, is on deck. Basically, fastball, slider, and a changeup. Just off the plate. So Nicasio comes in out of the bullpen and walks back-to-back runners.
Number 3, Mike Zunino.
Now Mike Zunino struck out and hit into a force play. The catchers had a tough 2 games. Honeycutt's going out to talk to Nicasio. Zunino in the first game flied to center. They let him swing 3-0, and he flied to center. He then struck out 3 times in a row last night and the first time up tonight. Last time up, he hit a ground ball to third, and the Dodgers got a force play. Behind Zunino is the shortstop, left-hand hitter, Brad Miller. The Honeycutt talking to Nicasio about throwing strikes. To fulfill that moment, in case you're not aware of it, Ian Desmond of the Nationals was the batter that hit the line drive that struck Nicasio in the head. That was back in 2011. Okay, the meeting is broken up. Here's young Mike Zunino, power hitter. 22 home runs last year, so they have to be very careful. And after back-to-back walks, it's a question of whether he's going to take one. That figured. The theory and the philosophy is, if a pitcher walks 2 in a row, you're thinking, well, he doesn't want to get into a hole and pitch behind to me. He's going to give me a strike. Looking fastball, but he got a breaking ball. 0-1 the count. That's the fastball low. 1-1 the count. Seager checking with Rich Donnelly. Two on, nobody out. 4-3 Mariners. 1-2 the count. So Nicasio facing one tough hombre. Last year, Seager had 96 runs batted in. Josh Donaldson, the only other third baseman, had 98 RBIs in that battle. 1-2. Fouled away. Zunino 0 for 2. After walks to Cruz and Seager, Nicasio pitching defensively now has to go on the attack. One ball and two strikes. Got him on a high fastball at 95. So Zunino now has struck out 5 times in the 2 games. And the batter, Brad Miller. That fastball was up there. He went after it, and down he goes. So Zunino going to school in this series. But again, remember, he had 22 home runs last year. Here is Miller, grounded out twice. One out, 2 on, 4-3 Mariners. Ball 1. Brad Miller. Nicasio got himself in trouble walking Cruz, and then Seager strikes out Zunino. Away, 2-0 the count to Brad Miller. Remember Chet Lemon? He was an outfielder, former big leaguer. He's worked with a lot of amateur players and amateur teams. They call him Chet Lemon's juice. Here's the 2-0 pitch and ball 3. In talking about Brad Miller, Lemon said one day he's going to be the guy all the other players in the Mariner clubhouse look up to. Well, he's had some pretty good players. Prince Fielder, Rickey and Jamil Wakes, Casey Kochman, and Miller. Very high. So Nicasio has walked the house, as they say. And with 1 out, the batter is the veteran Willie Bloomquist. So as soon as the Dodgers get close, Nicasio gets him into trouble. Yoervis Medina has been throwing in the pen. Bloomquist had the infield single hit by a pitch, scored a run. So Medina loosening up. They get down to Iwakuma. He's made 77 pitches, and they're thinking about hitting for him. Dustin Ackley, who played center field last night, is out on deck. So Cruz at third, Seager at second, Miller at first, only 1 out. So Nicasio in a lot of trouble. Little roll to the shortstop. Rollins, tough play, goes to first, but a run scores, and everybody moves up. So Bloomquist taps to short, and everybody moves 90. Miller goes to second, Seager goes to third, and Cruz scores and goes to the dugout. So 5-3 in favor of Seattle. And here is Dustin Ackley. In fact, they've called him back, and Iwakuma's coming up. So they'll pitch to Iwakuma with first base open. Ackley, by the way, last night had hit a home run in the 5th inning. So Iwakuma stays in. The bullpen goes quiet. Second and third, 2 out. Strike. Iwakuma struck out trying to bunt for a sacrifice, and did sacrifice in the 4th, and it got him a run. He got the bunt down to advance Bloomquist, and weak single scored him back in the 4th inning. Another strike. 5 runs, 7 hits for Seattle, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Oh, and 2. Outfield shallow, swung around to right. See you later. Okay, Iwakuma strikes out. However, 2 strikeouts with 3 walks, and a ground ball gets a run over. And at the end of 4 1/2, 5-3 Seattle. The scenes, Adrian Gonzalez receives the Gold Glove, Silver Slugger awards, plus newcomer Chris Hatcher spends his first opening day on a major league roster. Don't miss Backstage Dodgers. That'll be Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. So the Dodgers get close. Nicasio is a bit wild, and it's back to a 2-run gap. 5-3 Seattle. Crawford, Gonzalez, and Kendrick in that order. Kendrick 1 for 2, Gonzalez 1 for 2, Crawford 1 for 2. And for a strike, 0-1. Very much off speed. Carl hitting in the 270s. A little research, you know, Alex Guerrero had that pinch hit home run. The last Dodger pinch hit home run came from Scott Van Slyke, and it was last July. Ground ball, nice play by Bloomquist, 1 away. Last July against Pittsburgh, Scott Van Slyke had the pinch hit home run. Meanwhile, Guerrero listening to Yasiel Puig. When you're around him, you do a lot of listening to Yasiel Puig. Guerrero's just kind of listening. 1 away. Here's Gonzalez, popped up and doubled. 1 for 2. Interesting. Adrian has 8 RBIs in 29 at-bats. Alex Guerrero has 8 RBIs in 31 at-bats. Jimmy Rollins has 7 RBIs in 12 at-bats. We mentioned it in spring training and then around opening day. Last year, Adrian had 116 runs batted in. When he came up to the plate last year, 186 times there was a runner in scoring position. And 290 of his at-bats there were runners on base, 5th most in the majors. Right now with the bases empty, 1 for 2. His double came with Rollins at second base. Pitch looked up, maybe out of the strike zone, but Adrian fouls it off. Iwakuma now has made 83 pitches, worked very hard in the first inning and again in the third. 0-2. Check swing, no swing, 1-2. Like every Asian pitcher I've ever seen, they all have one particular habit. They're all taught, I'm sure, and that's a split second of hesitation before delivering the ball. They all hesitate, perhaps allowing the body to catch up to the arm. Right there. Just off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Little diamond defense. Brad Miller, the shortstop, on the other side. Cano is deep, and Bloomquist guarding the line. So all alone, I mean all alone, is the third baseman, Kyle Seager. 2-2. Breaking ball drops in. Cano throwing to his pitcher, covering. So Robbins can go in shallow right field. Makes the play. 4-1. 2 down. Kendrick coming up. So 99 times out of a regular game, a ball hit by Gonzalez lands in right field for a single, but not with the shift on. So here's Kendrick, single to right, had a 9-pitch at bat in the third inning and struck out. Two out in the 5th. 5-3 Mariners, ball 1. Mariners and Dodgers play each other so even. Going into last night's game, they had played 14 times. They had each won 7. They had each had 121 hits. And the difference in runs, Seattle had scored 62 to the Dodgers 61. But when the Dodgers won last night, that then made it each team had 67 runs, and the Dodgers had the edge 8-7. Ball 3. So if the Mariners win tonight, once again they'll be completely tied in knots, and tomorrow night will be a big game. Brett Anderson and Taijuan Walker. Ball 4 to Howie, and that'll bring up Grandal.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
3 walks. That's a lot for Ewood. And now let's see. They might be coming to get him. The translator, along with Rick Waits, the pitching coach. They had Medina up in the pen. Iwakuma is just not accustomed to walking 3 men in a game. Now they get the left-hander Furbush up. Charlie Furbush. We saw him briefly last night. He was brought in the 7th inning to face Adrian Gonzalez last night and got him on a ground ball. But it's Grandal coming up. He has walked and struck out. On deck, Andre Ethier. The Furbush getting ready, I assume, for Ethier. Oh and 1. Yasmani with a home run. He has 3 hits, 1 run batted in. He had a total of 15 at bats. Grandal is 6'2" and a good 210. 27 years old come November. Good breaking ball. 0-2. Grandal, in his first major league game, he was playing for San Diego. That would be the end of June 2 years ago. He hit 2 home runs in the game, 1 from each side of the plate. Great way to break in. 0-2. High fly ball to right field. Cruz looks like a play. That's it. So Grandal, a fly ball to right field. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 5, Seattle 5 and the Dodgers 3. '64 opening day at Dodger Stadium. Sandy Koufax pitching against the St. Louis Cardinals, and Sandy won the game 4-0. By the way, that was the only opening day assignment Sandy Koufax ever had. Maury Wills had 3 hits in that game. Frank Howard hit a home run, and then Sandy had some physical problems. Eventually got over that, won 11 straight, and during 1964 pitched his 3rd no-hitter. Sandy Koufax, never be forgotten. Let's go back to this one. Iwakuma worked his way out of the 5th inning. He has now made 93 pitches. Ricky Weeks, followed by Austin Jackson, and then Robinson Cano in that order. Quite a protective shield Ricky uses on that left arm. So Nicasio, who walked 3, gave up a run on a ground ball, trying to throw strikes now in the 6th inning. In there. Thinking about Sandy Koufax, opening day 1964. Never pitched another opener. And despite all the pain and physical problems he had, 1965, he pitched the Dodgers to a World Championship, including his perfect game. Picked up a Cy Young Award. And his spirit certainly lives on with Clayton Kershaw. And Kershaw will be on the mound come Friday against Kyle Kendrick when Colorado comes in. Check swing to Ricky, and a strike is called by first base umpire Marvin Hudson. 1-2 to Ricky Weeks. Pretty good fastball at 95 to blow him down. So 1 out in the 6th.
Number 16.
One of the great charms about baseball, if you love the game, you love to read about it, stories, players. We were talking about Sandy. On this date, going way back in 1925, a dynasty began quietly at Shibe Park in Philadelphia. Incredibly, 2 future Hall of Famers debuted on the same day for the same team. They'd go on into the Hall of Fame together 22 years later. Who were they? Well, the Philadelphia Athletics unveiled Mickey Cochran, Black Mike they called him, as the catcher, and Lefty Grove. They were in that opening day lineup in 1925. They both went in together in 1947. Austin Jackson hit into a force play, grounded to short, single to right. One ball, 1 strike. 1-2. Jackson followed by Cano and Cruz. So with 1 out, Nicasio trying to get Jackson before he goes up against the big boys. Two and 2 the count. Five-3 Seattle, top of the 6th, 1 away. 2 and 2 the count to Austin Jackson. Interesting that in the top 5 RBI leaders, Alex Guerrero, the hero last night, could not make the starting lineup tonight, and then had a pinch hit home run with a man aboard. So Guerrero still with Puig. 2 and 2. Slider and a 2-ball 2-strike count. The top leaders, Corey Dickerson with 10 RBIs, Todd Frazier and Joey Votto with 9, and then Adrian Gonzalez and Alex Guerrero. But Guerrero, 8 RBIs in 12 at bats. 2 and 2. Though Nicasio throwing hard, having some problems with the strike zone. He's worked an inning and a third, and he's made 33 pitches. Two and 2. Looking at Nicasio with the Rockies last year, 63 strikeouts, 31 walks. And he's been about 2-1 in his career, strikeouts to walks. He had 119 strikeouts 2 years ago, and he walked 64. So that's his pattern. Throws hard, strikes out a lot, walks half of them. Got in trouble in the 5th inning, walked 3. So a ground ball gave Seattle the additional run. They lead 5-3. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 6th, Ethier, Uribe, and Peterson. Big chopper. Rollins waits for the hop. 2 down.
Number 22, Robinson Cano.
Now Robinson Cano hit a 2-run home run in the first inning, grounded out in the third, flied to center in the fourth. Cano struggling at the start of the year, but everybody knows he will catch up, hitting just 156. But you're looking at a man who hit 314 last year, 314 the year before, 313 the year before that, 302, 319. I mean, he can hit. Oh, never mind 156. Right. Cano 1 for 3. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the inning, Ethier, Uribe, and Peterson. Collectively, they're 0 for 5. Peterson does have a walk. 0-2. Good hard slider down and in. Nicasio's been pitching professionally since 2006 and came up to the big leagues in 2011. No balls, 2 strikes. Waiting on deck, Nelson Cruz. I think everybody in the ballpark, including the opposition, is always aware of Nelson Cruz on deck. Two and two. Nicasio basically a fastball 2-seamer, which is his sinker, and he's thrown that as hard as 94. The 4-seamer, he's gotten up as high as 98, although we haven't seen 98. Then he has the slider instead of a curveball and a changeup. Circle change, and the scouts say that changeup is probably his best pitch. 2-2 with 2 down, bases empty in the 6th. Mariners lead by 2, 5-3. Fastball low. So he's now made 40 pitches in an inning and 2/3. 22 in the 5th inning and 18 so far here in the 6th. And a drive in the left center. Peterson with the ball over his head. That's going to go off the wall. Jock gets it back to the infield. And in there safely, Robinson Cano. So a 2-out double off the center field wall. Peterson played it very well, but Cano, left-handed batter, was able to beat it by a stride. Jock played that well enough. If it were a right-handed batter, since he threw accurately to second base, it would have been a lot closer. But the left-hander with those 3 additional strides pays off at second base. So now Nelson Cruz homered and walked twice. Scored after walking, so he has scored twice and knocked 1 in. Right. During the course of the year, it'll be fun to see about this 1-2 pinch, the left hook and the right cross. Cano and Cruz. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Missing with the slider, down and away. When Cruz played against the Mariners, he has 5 home runs against now teammate Felix Hernandez. And pop foul, out of play, back into the lower deck, and the count 1-2. Cruz, big man, 6'3", 240, built to hit home runs. Still 1-2. If you go back to October of 2011, Cruz easily won the American League Championship Series MVP trophy, leading the Rangers to the World Series. No one else in Major League history has hit 6 home runs or collected 13 RBIs in a playoff series. The only other players with 5 home runs, Reggie Jackson, Ken Griffey Jr., Juan Gonzalez, and Chase Utley. In that series, he hit .364. He had 8 hits. They were all for extra base hits, including 6 home runs. Got him. So try to battle. Nicasio strikes out Cruz. They lead Cano with the double. And at the end of 5.5 innings, 5-3 Seattle. Dodgers will have Andre Ethier, Juan Uribe, and Jock Peterson. Meanwhile, Iwakuma has made 90 some odd pitches, so he's worked hard as we go into the 6th inning. Andre Ethier, who had that big double last night, starts tonight instead of Puig and struck out and popped up. Hisashi Iwakuma from Tokyo, 15-game winner last year, 14-game winner the year before. He is 0-1 coming into tonight. Ball 1. Bullpens are busy. J.P. Howell is pitching in the Dodger bullpen. They might be batting for Nicasio. He's due to bat 4th in the inning. And Carson Smith, the right-hander, Charlie Furbish, the left-hander, and there's one down the line and gone. Home run for Andre Ethier. Second home run that Iwakuma has given up He gave one up, remember, to Guerrero in the 4th inning. So Ethier gets the Dodgers close again. Got one down, but out over the plate. Pulled it right down the line, heading towards the screen of the foul pole. It didn't hit the screen, so that made it questionable, but it stayed inside the pole for about a foot or so. Puig leading the applause as Andre checks in. So it is 5-4, but Iwakuma pitching hard, 95 pitches. He had to come out. Carson Smith will be called in from the bullpen, and we'll be right back. Iwakuma made 95 pitches. He struggled and made quite a few pitches in the 3rd inning and in the 1st inning, and it finally caught up to him. And Andre Ethier hits the Dodgers' 2nd home run tonight against Iwakuma. Guerrero off the bench hit one in the 4th, and Andre hits one that just stayed fair to give him a home run here in the 6th. So Carson Smith, a Texan, and a big Texan at that, 6'6", 215 pounds, went to Texas State, spent the summer pitching out here in the California Collegiate League. He was with the Santa Barbara Foresters, and he was dynamite. The batting average against him was 115. Throws hard. First pitch to Uribe at 94, 0-1. Carson Smith signed in 2011. Basically, a good fastball as high as 97, slider, and a changeup. 0-2 to Juan Uribe. For Carson Smith, his slider has late break to it. That's pretty much his put away pitch. Fastball, fly ball to left. Weeks is there. So Uribe, a fly ball, one away.
Number 31, Josh Peterson.
Josh Peterson coming up as Ethier cools off in the dugout after that home run. Peterson had a big at bat in the 2nd inning. 8 pitches. He finally struck out, but he showed discipline and a pretty good eye, and then battled again in the 4th inning with a 2-out walk. And that proved to be a big boost because Guerrero then pinch hit for Huff and hit the home run. Oh, 0-1 to Jock Peterson. No balls, 1 strike. Ground ball to first. Bloomquist is on it. He'll make the play by himself. So Ethier hits a home run. Uribe flies out. Peterson grounds out. And the Dodgers make the move. Juan Nicasio will be coming up. They'll keep him in the game instead of pinch hitting and bringing perhaps Howell in. So Nicasio will get a rare at bat. Ball 1. Nicasio so far has made 46 pitches. They really piled up on him in the 5th inning. He made 22 pitches when he walked 3. But he's also struck out 4. Though he's made a lot of pitches. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ball 2. Little chopper. Carson makes the play and he pulls Bloomquist off the bag. So Nicasio will wind up with an infield single. I don't know if he's ever had a base hit in his career, but we can look it up. So a squib single. Little dribbler down to get it. Carson Smith. And then his throw sailed wide. Bloomquist tried to stay on the bag but couldn't do it. And Nicasio safely aboard. So that's a hit charge against Carson Smith. Look at Bloomquist desperately trying, but had to come off. And for Nicasio, pardon me, that would be his 13th hit in his career. Off-speed breaking ball for a strike. 0-1 to Jimmy Rollins. Grounded out, doubled, scored a run, robbed of a hit on a good play by Cano in the 4th inning. They're not going to hold Nicasio with 2 out. Rollins a little late on that 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Smith got a fly ball from Uribe, a ground ball from Peterson, and then that little chopper from Nicasio. He gets a lot of ground balls. It's kind of the scouts love to use the word funky, but Carson has a rather funky looking herky-jerk sidearm delivery. Must be very deceptive to pick up the ball, especially at 6'6", all elbows and kneecaps. 1-2. Ground ball, Bloomquist, and that's the inning. Dodgers get a run, a home run by Ethier. They get a 2-out single by Nicasio, and Andre sitting alongside Scott Van Slyke, and Justin Turner comes up to hit a home run. And we're heading to the 7th. It's 5-4 Seattle. Robinson. Join the Dodgers and Mariners tomorrow at 7:10. And remember, the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult Jackie Robinson replica jersey presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. J.P. Howell will come out of the Dodger bullpen. It's been Huff, Nicasio, and now Howell. And he'll be facing a couple of left-handers. First Seager, and then Miller, and in between the right-hand hitting catcher, Mike Zunino. Dodgers load up the right side. Seager tried to bunt his way aboard, was thrown out. Single a left and walk. It was interesting last night with a left-hand hitter up Seth Smith, and the Dodgers loaded up the right side, and Smith was only the second hitter in the game, and Seth, there he is, hit one that sent Scott Van Slyke to the warning track in left field. Tonight the Dodgers loaded up the right side in the third inning, and Seager hit a ground ball into left field for a base hit. 2-1. And ball 3. The difference in the game now would be Nicasio being on the wild side, walking 3 in the 5th inning. Three and 1 the count. Foul ball right into the dugout. 3-2. You wonder the pitching philosophy. You load up the right side. Do you want him to pull the ball? And yet pulling the ball is his strength. That's why you're loading up the right side. So he goes the other way again. I've always wondered, when they load up like that, is the pitcher trying to keep the ball away from his strength, and then he's hitting into the defensive weakness? See where that pitch is. It's outside and a little low. Seager just a good hitter anyway. So Seager a leadoff single, and here's Mike Zunino, the hungriest guy in uniform. He has struck out 5 times in the 2 games, but he has a lot of power. Ball 1. Zunino last night flied out, then struck out 3 in a row. Struck out first time up tonight, hit into a force play, and then struck out again. So 5 strikeouts in 7 at bats. 1 ball and 1 strike. As we mentioned earlier, don't be fooled by Zunino striking out. He had 22 home runs, 60 runs batted in, but he did strike out 158 times last year. 1-1 to the young catcher. J.P. Howell, James Phillip Howell. Third pitcher used by the Dodgers tonight. 5-4 Seattle. 7th inning. Seager at first base does not have a stolen base. And with Zunino striking out a lot, you'd be hard to think they play hit and run. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kendrick way over to his right to fill up the middle. Good off-speed pitch. 1-2. Five runs, 9 hits for the Mariners. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. Seager, very short lead. Pulled foul right in front of Rich Donnelly. Count remains 1-2. When the evening began, Seattle tied for second. They were half a game back of Oakland. Dodgers were tied for second, 1 game back of Colorado. One and two the count. Hitting behind Zunino, the shortstop, Brad Miller. In the dirt. Nice block by Grandal. 2-2 the count. Mariners got 3 in the first inning. Dodgers came back with 1 in the third. Mariners scored a run in the fourth, a run in the fifth. Dodgers had 2 in the fourth and then 1 in the sixth. Off speed and foul back. JP, originally signed by the Royals, working up against Mike Zunino. Zunino, a first-round pick for the Mariners just a couple of years ago. Howell, a first-round pick for the Royals 11 years ago. University of Texas versus University of Florida. 2-2. Half swing, strike 3. So Zunino is going through growing pains in the big leagues. He looks like a wonderful defensive catcher. He's got a lot of power, but he strikes out a lot. So he has struck out 6 times in his 8 at-bats. So now Miller coming up. Couple of ground balls and a walk. On deck, the veteran Willie Bloomquist. Five for Seattle. They have hit 2 home runs. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. They've hit 2 home runs. So each team has hit 13 home runs. Robinson Cano has 1. Cruz has 1. Ethier has 1. And the pinch hitter, Alex Guerrero, had a big one. There's Alex. 1 ball, no strikes. In there. Showed bunt. They look, no bunt effort. So 2 balls and 1 strike. We mentioned earlier about Brad Miller playing for Chet Lemon. Lemon's son was drafted by the Tigers, and they're very close. Miller and Lemon's boy Marcus. 2-1. Two and two the count to Brad. We're in the top of the 7th inning. It's been Huff, Nicasio, and Howell, Iwakuma, and Smith for the Mariners. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That takes care of Brad Miller. 2 strikeouts for Howell. And Willie Bloomquist coming up. Pitches up there, then cuts down and away, and Miller's finished. Bloomquist had an infield single to short. He was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the 4th inning and then grounded out. So hit by pitch has been a big play for the Mariners to get that additional run. Now the run between the two teams is the 3 walks given up by Nicasio and a run on a ground ball. Seager, who does not have a stolen base over there at first. Justin Ruggiano, who finished up in the outfield last night, is out on deck to bat for Smith. So we'll watch Seager. Howell is certainly watching him. Fastball missing. Ball 1. Iwakuma walked 3, struck out 4. Dodger pitchers have walked 4, struck out 8, and hit a batter. So there have been a lot of pitches thrown in what is now a very slow-paced game. 1 ball and no strikes. And ground ball by the diving Gonzalez. Seager's at second. He'll hold on. Ethier gets it back in. So now Ruggiano will be coming up with runners at first and second, 2 down in the 7th, and Howell in a little trouble. Ruggiano finished up the game last night in center field. Mattingly talking to Wallach as Ruggiano is being announced.
Justin Ruggiano.
Rick Honeycutt checked on the phone. You saw him nod his head yes. So the word is the Dodger bullpen is warmed up. Ruggiano, interestingly enough, was drafted by the Dodgers back in 2004. So we have a pitching change, and we'll be back. to a 5-4 lead in the 7th inning and 2 out. Dodgers, of course, dug in for another battle with the Mariners tomorrow night. That'll be Brett Anderson and Taijuan Walker. Thursday is an off day, and then the battle over the weekend with the Colorado Rockies, the rejuvenated Colorado Rockies, who are winning again. It was 3-0 Rockies there in the top of the 8th inning. The Rockies are on the verge of going 6-2, and the Giants are on the edge of going 3-6. So the Rockies will be here for the weekend. Meanwhile, Chris Hatcher is brought in to try and get a huge out. Ruggiano was announced. Once he was announced, the Dodgers then brought in Hatcher, and Seth Smith was then batted, and he will hit for Ruggiano. Seth Smith hitting .385. He has a couple of RBIs, 2 doubles and a triple. Dodgers certainly remember Seth from his years in Colorado. So J.P. Howell gave up a base hit, struck out 2, gave up another base hit. Now he's sweating out Hatcher. Kendrick is a good 10 feet out in right field. And ball 1. You can see Gonzalez playing him very much to pull. Rollins on the rim, way over to his left, to try and take a step away from Kyle Seager. 1 ball and no strikes. And a strike, 1-1. Chris Hatcher, 6'2", 205-pounder out of Kinston, North Carolina. One and one to count. Golfed at and missed. Seth Smith with the Padres last year had a dozen home runs when he was playing in the Happy Hunting Grounds in Colorado. His high was 17 home runs. He has power. He has never struck out 100 times. And he's up there now with 2 on, 2 out. 5-4 favor of Seattle. Foul back. Seth's been around. He's out of Mississippi, went to the university. By now, anyone following knows that he was the backup quarterback at Mississippi behind Eli Manning. And I mean behind Manning. He never even had a chance to get 1 snap in 3 years. Great athlete. He was all conference in 4 sports. Not now. So Seth Smith strikes out. That means the side strikes out because Howell had 2. Hatcher gets 1. And we are heading for the bottom of the 7th. And the Dodgers coming up trying to get even at least. Bottom of the 7th inning. The Dodgers have been chasing Seattle ever since the first inning. They get close, and then Seattle moves ahead again. It's 5-4 Seattle. Bottom of the 7th inning. Crawford, Gonzalez, and Kendrick against Charlie Furbush. Charlie Furbush, left-hander all the way. Crawford, meanwhile, single, struck out, grounded out, 1 for 3. Furbush 6'5". Big roundhouse curveball for a strike. Furbush pitched briefly last night. He came in to face Gonzalez and got him to ground out. Another breaking ball. 0-2. All you had to do if you were the Marlins, if you were the Mariners, keep saying that. Watching Crawford bat last night, chasing some curveballs in the 8th inning. He's in a hole now on those 2 curveballs, 0-2. Still 0-2. Charlie Furbush had Tommy John surgery back in 2008. He's from a small town in Maine, Standish, Maine. I guess after Miles Standish. Transferred from St. Joseph's to LSU in his junior year. Breaking ball, and Crawford gets it. A no-ball, 2-strike curveball, and Crawford straightens it out. So the Dodgers now get the tying run aboard. Crawford is 2 for 4. Pitch goes down there, and Crawford went down and got it. Nice bit of hitting. Remember, we told you that since August of last year, Carl Crawford is the top hitter in the major leagues. 2 for 4 tonight. Now Gonzalez, Kendrick, and Grandal coming up. Adrian tonight popped up, double to right to drive in a run, and grounded out. Ball 1, nope, dips in for a strike. Adrian 4 for 8 against Charlie. Fastball, little flare into left field. That's going to drop in front of Weeks. So after those slow curveballs that he gave Carl Crawford, he tries to sneak a fastball, and he pays the price. So Charlie's in trouble, and Lloyd McClendon going out to the mound. Single to center, single to left, 2 on, nobody out. Weeks gets the ball back into the infield. Yoervis Medina, a right-hander, is in the bullpen, and that's going to do it for Furbush. He faces 2 batters and gives up 2 hits. We'll be right back. Medina out of Puerto Cabello in Venezuela. Signed by the Mariners back in 2005. He spent 4 years with the Mariners Summer League team after signing in 2007. Spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, and finally, after about 8 years, made it to the Mariners 2 years ago. 2 on, nobody out. Howie Kendrick, the batter. Yasmani Grandal on deck. Basically fastball, curve, splitter, and a changeup coming from Medina. So Iwakuma, Smith, Furbish, Medina, Huff, Nicasio, Howell, and Hatcher. 8 pitchers in the game thus far. Fastball, 0-1. He hits 92 on the gun. He's been clocked as high as 94. Curveball, splitter, and change. Dodgers have Carl Crawford, the tying run at second. Adrian Gonzalez, a go-ahead run at first. Oh, and 1. Fastball at 92. Back in 2013, Medina was called up for his first major league experience. He faced 6 batters, struck out 3 of them, did walk 2, but no runs. So his young career, 9-9, and a very good ERA of 2.8. 1-1. That was 93, and it was up. We paid attendance tonight, 43,115. So a little bit more than we had last night. Last night, 42-2. 1-2 the count. So he takes care of Kendrick, and 1 out.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
So Yasmani Grandal coming up with Andre Ethier on deck. Medina came into the game with a save. Grandal walked, struck out, flied to right. And a high strike. He's been living up in striking out Kendrick. He's 6'3", at least 210. Big man. They put a nickname on him in Venezuela, El Caballo, because they say he's a workhorse. That's off the plate. 1-1. Carl Crawford at second base, representing the tying run, is 2 for 4 tonight. And for him to give Seattle a bad time, there's nothing new about that. Crawford has a .344 batting average lifetime against Seattle. And a chopper to the right side. They're going to get 1. They will get 2. So Medina comes in and stops the Dodgers in their tracks. Strikes out Kendrick, gets Grandal to hit into a double play, and the Dodgers waste back-to-back singles. We're heading to the 8th, 5-4 Seattle. McClendon. McClendon had a big major league career, but we want to talk about McClendon in the Little Leagues in 1971. First inning of the 71 Little League World Series championship game. There's Lloyd McClendon as the pitcher, 12 years old, and he hits his 5th home run in Williamsport. Taiwan stated they wouldn't intentionally walk McClendon after that. They would lose space, but they intentionally walked him twice after his home run. He also pitched, by the way, struck out 12, but his team from Gary, Indiana lost 12-3. So McClendon's been playing the game a long time, playing it well. It's good to see him. And here we are in the 8th inning, 5-4 Seattle, and Dustin Ackley at the plate. Ackley, who played center field last night, Weeks, while he was in there, 2 for 4. 2 balls and no strikes. Dustin Ackley last night grounded out, struck out, and hit a home run. Three and 0. So the Dodgers blowing a big opportunity, first and second, nobody out. So Seattle holding on to that 1-run lead. That's in there. Three and 1. Three and 2. Dustin Ackley, listed as a second baseman as well as an outfielder. When he was in high school, he had Tommy John surgery. His dad played in the Boston Red Sox organization. He was a first-round pick out of the University of North Carolina. 3 and 2. Dustin, 6'1", 185, 27 years old. Three-time All-American, and the first three-time All-American baseball player in the history of the University of North Carolina. Still up there hacking away. He had 14 home runs last year, 12 home runs the other high. Chris Hatcher struck out Seth Smith. Fastball, pop foul, out of play. Hatcher hitting 95 on the gun. Ackley, another first-round pick by the Mariners. Back in 2009, they were so high on him after making him a first-round pick. They signed him to a 5-year deal. 3 and 2. Fouled it back. They refer to Ackley as a pure hitter. That's not reflected in his batting averages over the years. 245. 253, 226. 3 and 2. Ground ball to Gonzalez. He'll take it to the bag. And we have one out here in the 8th inning.
Number 16, Austin Jackson.
Austin Jackson hit into a force play, grounded to short, single to right, and grounded to short. Jackson was aboard in the first inning when Robinson Cano came up and hit a home run. One out in the 8th, 5-4 Seattle. Tomorrow night, Brett Anderson, Taiwan Walker. Final game of the series. Thursday an off day, and Colorado here in the weekend. Rockies leading the Giants. Last we saw 3-1. Looks like they're in the 9th inning. Fastball in at the knuckles at 95. Chris Hatcher, the catcher, and the Marlins moved him to the mound. Fastball. Chris Hatcher, one for the books as we watch Austin Jackson at the plate. Hatcher, the first player in over 75 years to make his big league debut as a catcher one year and come back the next year as a pitcher. 2-2. You have to go back to a player named Art Dahl for the Boston Braves, 1935-36. Two balls, two strikes. Got it. So Hatcher struck out Smith, gets Ackley, now strikes out Jackson. And here comes Robinson Cano.
Number 22, Robinson Cano.
Ten Mariners have struck out last night. 15. Cano is homered, grounded out, flied out, doubled. Ball one. Five runs, 10 hits for Seattle, 4 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. Each team with 2 home runs, so each team has 13 home runs to start off the year. One and one. Little ground inside, knocked down by Gonzalez, flips it to Hatcher covering, and that'll be that. So down go Seattle Marlins on a ground ball to first, and we're heading for the bottom of the 8th inning. Mariners 5, Dodgers 4. the #1 live streaming sports service, celebrating 13 years. So watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Visit MLB.tv for details. Hello there, Bright Eyes. Those front teeth will grow in and everything will be fine. It has been an arduous night. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks, several dozen foul balls. In fact, there have been 30 foul balls with 2 strikes in the count. And a strike. Andre Ethier struck out, popped up, homered. Dodgers blew an opportunity in the 7th. 2 on, nobody out, failed to score. Dustin Ackley, who batted for Ricky Weeks, is in left field. And that's a strike. With the change in pitchers, we've had 8 pitchers. Game is now about 3 hours and 10 minutes old, and we're in the bottom of the 8th. In the dirt, 1 and 2. Ethier, Uribe, and Peterson, and then it would be Hatcher's spot. So Yimi Garcia begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. Pitched well briefly last night. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Andre Ethier. In the dirt, 2-2 the count. It's been Iwakuma, then Smith, then Furbish briefly, and then Medina. Two balls and 2 strikes. Outfield very deep on a little ground ball to first. So Ethier taps out, 1 down in the 8th inning.
Number 5, Juan Uribe.
Juan Uribe coming up, returning to the starting lineup. Uribe is flied to center, grounded to short, flied to left. Uribe, who felt a tightness in the hamstring in Arizona, rested last night, back in there tonight. Meanwhile, his replacement last night, Guerrero, had the game-winning base hit, and he also had a pinch hit 2-run home run tonight. Ball 1 to Uribe. Uribe will be 36 in July. He's been playing as a pro since 1998. Originally signed by the Rockies. Hard ground ball. Seager, nice stop. Throws him out and made it look easy. So Kyle Seager takes care of Juan Uribe. 1 third baseman nails the other. And Jock Peterson coming up. Justin Turner will come out on deck if given a chance to bat for Chris Hatcher. So it's up to Peterson. Peterson struck out, walked. His walk was important. Guerrero followed with the home run and grounded out. Mariners had 3 in the first inning, and they've been leading all the way. Ball 1. Tomorrow night, the concluding game, Brett Anderson and Taijuan Walker. And The drive to right, coming up to play it on a hop is Nelson Cruz. So a 2-out single by Peterson extends the inning and allows Justin Turner to come up as a pinch hitter. So Medina gives up a hit. The Dodgers now have 9 hits. Justin Turner, a pinch hitter last night, hit the ball pretty hard in the 7th inning, fly to center. And now let's see Lloyd McClendon going out to the mound. We'll see if the skipper wants to just instruct. He has somebody down in the bullpen, but he's going to talk to Medina. Fernando Rodney, the rather famous reliever, loosening up. Rodney's the guy who always looks like he's shooting an arrow into the sky. Well, Medina's staying in, and Justin Turner will hit for Hatcher. Turner hurt his left index finger making a tag over in Arizona at third base. So this would be his second pinch hit appearance in this series. Five runs, 10 hits for Seattle, 4 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. Off speed for the big guy, clocked at 92 on the gun. Wow. One ball and 1 strike. When Seattle comes up in the 9th inning, they'll have Nelson Cruz, Kyle Seager, and then the catcher Mike Zunino. Dodgers had a great opportunity in the 7th, back-to-back singles, but Kendrick struck out. Randall hit into a double play. Scrambling to get back. Peterson, a better throw over there might have gotten him. Two out in the 8th. Keeping an eye on Peterson, of course. They know that he had that big year in AAA where he was in the 30s. Home run, stolen base. Peterson had 33 home runs, 30 stolen bases. Although he's not familiar with Medina's delivery, he's inching away. There he goes. Pitch is taken for a strike. The throw is late. Close play at second base, but Peterson got that jump, took off, and made it. So the Dodgers have a go-ahead runner at second base. Zunino's throw kind of sailed a little bit, and Cano's tag was from, well, got him on the shoulder, it looked like. That's why I think they thought they had him out. They might ask the umpires to review that play, and you can understand it when you see the tape. It looked like Cano's, the back of his glove, tagged Peterson on the shoulder. So let's see. Take another look. You can't really see it there, I don't think. But the first shot that we had, it looked like Cano's glove got him. I think this is the shot. Yeah, right on the shoulder. So he's out on the videotape. So in a moment, Peterson will be called out and the inning will be over. And it's still 5-4 Seattle. They're ready to celebrate in the Seattle dugout. Jim Joyce, crew chief. Easy decision after looking at the tape. Out. Yes, absolutely. So Peterson out trying to steal 2-4. Cano got him. The crowd is now informed, and we are heading for the 9th inning. Seattle leading 5-4, and we'll be back. Peterson so close and yet so far when he's tagged out. Dodgers had Turner at the plate, and he'll stay in the game at third base. So the new pitcher, Yimi Garcia, will go in Uribe's spot. So the Dodgers used 5 pitchers, 4 used so far by Seattle. Last night, the Dodgers used 5 pitchers, including Garcia. Yimi last night pitched the 10th inning, struck out Zunino, got Miller on a ground ball, and struck out Ruggiano. So we'll see what he does now, because he gets Cruz and Seager, 2 top players. Nelson Cruz homered in the first inning. He's homered in 4 straight games. Then he walked twice, and last time up in the 6th inning with a runner in scoring position, he struck out. Slider for a strike, 0-1. Yimi Garcia from Moca in the Dominican Republic was called up September 1 last year, made his debut against the Nationals, gave up a hit to Bryce Harper, also got a strikeout, worked a couple of innings, didn't give up any runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers signed Garcia in 2009, and he made the usual stops all the way up. Fastball and a towering fly ball. Let's see how far it'll go to Peterson. So Jock Peterson takes care of the fly ball. 1 out in the 9th. Final score, the Rockies continue to roll along, and the Giants continue to stumble, at least for now. The Rockies now won their 2nd in a row. They've won 6 of the last 8, which would be their record. The Giants have lost 5 straight, and their record is 3-6. So 1 out. Seager tried to bunt for a base hit. Single to left, walk, single to center. though he's 2 for 3. That's in there for a strike. Good fastball at 93. Kyle Seager, a solid player for years to come. The Dodgers feel that his brother, Corey, will have the same role for the Dodgers. High slicing foul out of play. Paid attendance tonight, 43,115. Seager had a baseball scholarship to the University of North Carolina. He majored in exercise and sports science. Exercise. One and two to Kyle. 27. He'll be 28 in November. One and two. On the hands, fouled away. Last year, Kyle Seager had 25 home runs, 96 runs batted in. Been with the Mariners since 2011. Played baseball, he played basketball and soccer. Bad ball at 95. Down he goes. So 2 down in the 9th inning. And the batter will be Mike Zunino, who's had a very tough series.
Mike Zunino.
He has struck out 6 times in 8 at-bats. To his credit, he made that strong throw that got Peterson in the 8th inning. Five runs, 10 hits for the Mariners, 4 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. That's a strike. Breeze has come up, blowing from left to right. Final game tomorrow night, Brett Anderson and Taijuan Walker. Fastball. So if you're Zunino, you got to chase the terrible thought of striking out 4 times tonight, 3 times last night, and 7 times in the 2 games. Fouled away. He hit the ball in the 3rd inning and hit into a force play. And last night, his first at bat in the series, he flied to center. Since then, tough going. But one little mistake and he can hit it out. 0-2. Dodgers will have Turner, Rollins, and Crawford in the bottom of the 9th inning. Got him. So Garcia strikes out 2, and for poor Zunino, and your heart really has to go out to him. Strikes out 4 times tonight, 3 times last night, 7 times in 2 games, and Fernando Rodney will be coming in to pitch the bottom of the 9th with Seattle leading 5-4. On surgery back in 2004. He's from Samana in the Dominican Republic and was originally signed by the Tigers in 1997. He's pretty famous. It's now a famous ritual of shooting an imaginary arrow into the air when he gets the final out of a game in which he is closing. He has struggled a little bit in his career with the strike zone. He averages almost 4.5 walks every 9 innings. However, he's also saved as many as 48 games twice. Fernando Rodney will face Justin Turner, Jimmy Rollins, and Carl Crawford. The Justin Turner will be facing Fernando Rodney. (5-4) in favor of the Mariners. 5 runs, 10 hits. Dodgers 4 runs, 9 hits. It was 3-0 Mariners, then 3-1, 4-1, 4-3, 5-3, 5-4. Starts him a little high, fastball, 1 ball and no strikes. Breeze again picking up, blowing to right field. Foul back. In 2012, Fernando Rodney had the lowest earned run average in Major League history. 2012, his earned run average was 0.60. A little bit better than Dennis Eckersley. 2-1 to count. Rodney 5'11", about 220. 34 years old. And ground ball, base hit into right field. So the Dodgers get the tying run aboard. Dodgers now have had 4 hits in the last 2 innings plus, and nothing to show for it. So Turner hits a fastball down and away, grounds it into right field. Rodney's fastball has been clocked as high as 98. He also has a slider and a great changeup. The scouts really talk about the change. Here's Rollins, grounded out, double, grounded out again. He is 1 for 4. Shows bunt, strike, 0-1. Dodgers had 2 on in the 7th inning, nobody out. Kendrick struck out, and Grandal hit into a double play. They had a base hit in the 8th inning. Peterson was thrown out trying to steal, and now a leadoff single by Turner in the 9th. 0-2 the count. Fernando Rodney is vulnerable to the stolen base. The league has a success percentage of 84% of success. 66 stolen bases and only 13 caught. And that's going to be hit into right center for a base hit. There goes Turner on his way to third, and the Dodgers are in business yet again. First and third, nobody out. Went down after a fastball that was out of the strike zone, and he was able to still lift it and bang it into right center. So the Dodgers now have had 5 hits in the last 2 innings plus, and nothing to show for it. So Rodney in trouble, and Crawford and Gonzalez and Hendrick back to back. Strike. Crawford in the past 4 for 8 against Rodney, and he is 2 for 4 tonight. Jimmy Rollins on a no ball 2-strike pitch that was certainly out of the strike zone below the knees. Singles to right center. 1-1 to count. Twice in the last 3 years, Rodney has saved 48 games. And he's behind 2-1. Crawford checking with Lorenzo Bundy. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Two and one. Bad ball. And instead of 3-1, it's 2-2. You know, we talked about Rodney being a little bit on the wild side. However, up against the numbers 3 and 4 hitters in the lineup, they went a 138 batting average against him. Only 8 hits. Well, Turner's at third, Rollins at first, nobody out. 2-2 to Carl Crawford. Ground ball up with it is Sager, goes to the plate. They've got Turner in a rundown. Sager will tag him out. Crawford holding at first, Rollins at second, and the Dodgers spinning their wheels now. They get base hits and they don't move along. So Crawford on the fielder's choice. Now you have first and second, 1 out. Nice play by Sager. He went to the plate. Immediately, Turner had nowhere to go, and Zunino to Sager, and Sager runs him out of the baseline. So 1 out. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Gonzalez popped up and doubled, grounded out, and singled. So Adrian is 2 for 4. So it's still 5-4, and the Dodgers have now out-hit Seattle 11 hits to 10. But in the important run column, it's 5-4 Seattle. Foul back. 0-1 to count to Adrian Gonzalez. Jimmy Rollins at second, Crawford at first. Turner caught in the rundown. Fastball at 96. 1 ball, 1 strike. Temperatures dropped. The breeze came up. Getting a little cool in the ballpark now. At 10:47. One and one. 2-1. Fernando thinks he had a strike. Plate umpire Gibson says no. Pretty close. Two and one. Turner forced to be an onlooker after representing the tying run, and now wait a minute, here comes Lloyd. Fernando Rodney has been in some awkward moments. 2 years ago, the end of August, he decided he needed to use the bathroom, conveniently located at the end of the visiting dugout. That was at the Coliseum in Oakland. He ended up getting trapped. It took a team of stadium personnel to get him out of his predicament. They had to use a crowbar to pry the door open and let him out. Undeterred, he went back out and closed out a Rays win. How about that? 2-1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Ball 3. And waiting on deck, Kyle Kendrick. So the Dodgers so far, 5 hits in the last 3 innings and nothing to show for it as Puig jabbering to Hyun-Jin Ryu. All right, 3-1 to Adrian. And walked him way off the strike zone, and the bases are loaded. So Rodney has given up 2 hits and a walk. Dodgers have loaded the bases with 1 out, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Howie Kendrick, 2 for 8 in the past, has struck out 3 times against Fernando Rodney. Kendrick, by the way, does not have a grand slam. Zunino out to talk. So the Dodgers have Rollins the tying run at third, Crawford the potential winning run at second, and Gonzalez at first. Howie Kendrick singled to right in the first inning, struck out a 9-pitch at bat in the third, walked in the 5th, and struck out in the 7th. Infield in double play depth. Fastball, broken bat, base hit. In comes Rollins. Here comes the throw to the plate. The Dodgers win it. Carl Crawford scores from second, and the Dodgers have done it again. Come from behind to beat Seattle 6-5, which, by the way, Josephine, was the same score from last night. Six runs, 12 hits, and no errors for the Dodgers. 5 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error for Seattle. Certainly the play of the game, Howie Kendrick, Mr. Clutch, coming up with 2 hits. Single in the first inning, and then the big one here in the 9th. The throw by Nelson Cruz close at the plate, but Crawford whistling in from second base to give the Dodgers their second come-from-behind win. For Rodney, he made 18 pitches, and the Dodgers beat him. Tomorrow night, the concluding game, Brett Anderson, Taijuan Walker. We'll talk to you then. Till then, good night, everybody.